Hello, my name is Jen Riley. I'm an educational consultant with Kentucky Department of Education. Thank you for attending the Early Childhood Regional Training Center's webcast series. Today's topic is being virtually connected with limited screen time. At this time, I'm going to turn over to Chuck Williams with Callaway RTC.
Good day, all. Along with Director Dr. Nancy Lovett and Consultant Brittany York, this is Chuck Williams. I'm a consultant with the Callaway County Early Childhood Regional Training Center, welcoming you to Being Virtually Connected with Limited Screen Time. We know that interactions and relationships are the foundation to education, period, but they certainly are the foundation to developmentally appropriate practices, regardless of the instructional setting. To succeed, all children need warm, supportive relationships with teachers and peers, motivation to engage in learning activities, appropriate levels of autonomy and self-advocacy, an enjoyment of and excitement about their learning, feelings of comfort, and a willingness to accept cognitive and social challenges. The Kentucky Department of Education has recognized the following types of delivery for students in non-traditional instruction: one-on-one video communication or phone calls between the teacher and the student, or the teacher and the adult or parent as appropriate based on the child's age and needs; group video communication or phone calls between the teacher and the entire class, or the teacher and smaller groups; student time logged into a learning management system, or the completion of paper-based assignments in a non-digital, non-traditional setting.
As we look at the ways the Kentucky Department of Education has expected us to look at virtual or distance learning, we want to see how this would work in preschool. In preschool, one of the things that we want to think about when we're thinking about our distance or virtual learning is we want to make sure that we give children the opportunity to guide. We know that even though we may not be together in a classroom and working together with our children are still playing, exploring, and learning in their homes. So as they're exploring and learning in their homes, we want to give them the opportunity to lead and guide us in some of the activities. So as you're thinking about your virtual learning at home, we want to think about giving children that autonomy to be able to guide and lead some activities. We also want to make sure that we provide meaningful alternatives to screen time. We know that screen time can be very powerful for our young learners, but we also know it is not developmentally appropriate to use too much screen time. So when we're thinking about our distance and virtual learning, we want to make sure that we limit our screen time and only have it in small segments of time. We also want to make sure that we're able to give other activities to expand and to extend that learning through other opportunities other than screen time. We also want to remember that our families are our partners. During this COVID pandemic, we have found that we have been building closer relationships to our families than we even have in the past. We've been doing much more connected activities with them. So one of the things that we want to make sure that we do is that we include our families as our partners. So as we think about including our families as our partners during this distance and virtual learning, we want to make sure that we respect the fact that parents and guardians have other duties to do other than teaching their young children. So we want to make sure that we do things that are appropriate to their schedule, that they can be involved in, but they also have the flexibility to be able to look at different times. So we want to really remember that they do have other responsibilities, and so we need to think of different alternatives in working with our families. One thing, though, that is very important is that we do stay connected with our families. We can stay connected with our families at least once a week using phone or video chat, whatever works best for them, but we want to make sure that we do stay in tune with our families. Also, as we build these remote relationships, we want to make sure that we are staying in touch and that we are staying connected. We know that if we extend our relationship with our families and stay connected with them, that we will have many more positive results for our children. Also, as we're building these relationships with our families, we want to make sure that our families are being able to help us as we document the progress of our children on that work that they're actually doing virtually. So this remote relationship building with our families is very, very critical. As we think about working with our families in distance and virtual learning, we're thinking about using technology and also not using technology. So we want to have both ways that we have available. So as we think about connecting with our families and our preschoolers through technology, I want to mention just a few things, that foundational pieces that I think are very important for you to keep in mind. One is that we need to establish regular communication with our families and children. Again, I think it's important that we can make use of phone calls, text messaging, emails, Facebook posts, and even virtual meetings, but we want to have a regularly scheduled communication plan with our families during this time. Also, when we provide virtual meetings or activities, it's important that we make sure we do that at a time that our adults and our families can be involved with the child. Using technology and making it the best experience for our young learners really involves an adult being involved with the children during that time. So we want to make sure that during our virtual meetings or activities that we do schedule that at a time where our adults can be present with the children. We also want to establish a consistent schedule of events to support families and children while they're at home. We want to make sure that we include them, and we want to make sure that we schedule these at times that are appropriate for the family. We also know that it's very powerful to engage the children in technology, but we want to limit that screen time. Again, for young children, it is not developmentally appropriate to use large amounts of screen time. So we want to make sure that our screen time is in short segments, no more than 20 minutes, and it's very limited. We also want to make sure that that screen time is also balanced with active learning, hands-on experiences to extend the children's learning. So we want to make sure that in our virtual learning that we have learning experiences that expand from the technology and the screen time. When we are using screen time and we are using technology though, one of the things we can do is we can set up virtual small groups. We can think of children with their IEP goals. We can think about children and their needs. So as we set up small groups, we need to be thinking about these different things that we need to do as we're scheduling. But one thing in scheduling small groups that I think is very important to remember for our children is we want to think about their social emotional development. So when we set up small groups, we want to make sure that the children have opportunity to say hello to each other and are able to interact by saying hello and by greeting each other. So when we're thinking about small groups, we want to think about that opportunity. Also, another really, really important thing that we can do with technology is during the time that we're having distance and virtual learning, we need to still be looking at our Kentucky Early Childhood Standards and making sure that our standards are aligned with the activities that we are providing our families to work with their children. So we want to continue our curriculum that we're using in our face-to-face program with our children in our virtual learning. We may be looking at themes that we're doing with children. We may be looking at projects, but we want that to be consistent for our children that is experiencing virtual learning. So as we think about that, story time is a really good way to use technology. We can have our teachers reading books that are tied to the theme or the project, and we can have those pre-recorded or we can have those live. But if we have them pre-recorded, then the family can use these at a time that's convenient with their schedule and works with your other responsibilities. We also want to host virtual group activities where all of our students are involved and their families are involved. We want to think of things that are really fun for children to do. We might want to think of some calendar activities, but I want you to always remember here that music is magical. So you may want to think about in your whole group activities having fun things like dance, music, gross motor, but things that would involve both the child and the family. So as we set up our virtual group activities, we want to think about things that are very engaging to both the children and the families.
Whether it's small group or large group, some teacher tips and strategies for virtual groups we'd like to share are the following. Just as you would in your classroom, be sure to open your session with social conversation. Hey, Chuck, how was the long weekend? Hey, Brittany, did you go to the zoo? How were your grandparents? I heard you took a trip to see them this weekend. There is so much power in starting with social conversations, calling on those children by name, recognizing them, and letting them know the importance they have in your life. So open with social conversations. Be sure to use their name. Hey, it's a tough year, but don't forget to smile, laugh, and use that positive tone of voice. It's amazing how facial expressions and the tone of our voice reflect how we're really feeling to those around us. So be positive, be flexible. Look for cues that children are losing interest or need to move on, just like you would in large group. Sometimes it's tough to scan that entire laptop or that entire monitor to see what all the kids are doing, but just remember and be flexible to look for those cues. Give children an opportunity to lead. Now, whether it's a teacher-led activity or truly student-directed, giving children an opportunity to lead can be vital to their interest in the activity, their input, their engagement, and their comprehension. Allow your students to share. Let them work together. Have some show and tell, and let the students truly lead some activities whenever those opportunities present themselves. Don't forget to create a predictable routine. Continue those rituals and schedules just as you would if you were in the regular classroom setting. Hey, let's make the virtual session fun and special. Take the time to find out what each child is really excited about and incorporate that into your lessons. You know, children can show a special interest or an expertise in any given topic in any given time. And you might work out ahead of time some fun hand signals or some gestures they can make when you've really reached a topic that they have a lot of interest in. Then you can focus on that one child's input by maybe muting the other children for a few moments and allowing that child to share what has led to their special interest or excitement in that particular topic. Don't forget to make connections to children's home lives. You know, now more than ever before, you're being given true insight into the child's world. Glean as many positives as you can from their home environment to stimulate discussion and engagement from each child. Oh, you have a new puppy. Hey, I didn't know you had a baby sister. Looks like you've moved into your new apartment. How are things going for you? How do you like your room? These kind of topics, etc., can give each child, or maybe just a child or two each day, true ownership in that moment of your instruction, particularly when the other students' mics are muted and that child is front and center and has the floor. Some at-home activities that we've chosen for preschoolers, including putting together home activity packets. Now, you need to establish a distribution method for delivery of the take-home packet. Be sure to have established rules for pickup. For example, when the packets will be placed outside the center of the location and the specific time that parents are assigned to pick those up. Take-home activity packets should include both virtual supports as well as adult supervised and independent student activities. Be sure to establish a center or a class theme to keep the children engaged during these weeks of virtual learning. You know, the themes can be anything and anywhere from gardening to zoo animals, you name it. But if you'll use this theme for most of the stories, activities, and lessons shared with the families and children, you can build upon these experiences and understand their relationship and understanding of the themes and the topics. Be sure to use daily activity calendars, such as maybe the Ready for Eddie calendar, to support their learning at home. In addition, providers and teachers can identify theme-based activities for the week. For example, on Monday, maybe the child collects a bag of pine cones and sorts them by size. On Tuesday, they paint the pine cones using spring colors to resemble Easter eggs. On Wednesday, The parent hides the pine cones and the child hunts for them. Hey, how many did you find? What color was easiest to find? What color was most difficult to find? Can stimulate a lot of conversation. Be sure to provide a variety of hands-on learning task ideas. Allow the children to practice many of the Kentucky Early Childhood Learning Standards utilizing hands-on tasks at home, such as sorting laundry by color, counting silverware when helping to empty the dishwasher or putting away dishes. How many spoons did you put away? How many remain? Well, how many spoons did we have in the dishwasher total? The same with forks, or possibly creating a pattern using large and small dishes, large and small plastic cups, plates, salad bowls, saucers, etc. can be a great way to connect to the standards while working at home. We know you're going to include crafts and art activities in your virtual instruction, so be sure to include a list or provide the materials necessary for the students to create an art project. Some of those materials can include toilet paper rolls, construction paper, feathers. But be sure to ask your parents to post a picture of their child's project, whether it's on the school Facebook page or your class Facebook page, or hey, bring in the project to virtual group gathering. Be sure to provide parents with detailed instructions and supports that encourage conversations with their children. I'm going to repeat that. We know vocabulary at home is vital for these children. We know conversations are sometimes lacking at home. Take advantage of this opportunity to stimulate conversations between caregivers, and their children. Just encouraging the parents or caregivers to ask questions about the child's project or the task allows the child the opportunity to explain what they're making, what they're doing, why they created it, and the winning part of this is all the parents have to do is listen. Be sure to provide activities for outside play, for example, painting with water on the driveway, gardening, studying caterpillars and butterflies, exploring with a magnifying glass, setting up a water play station with a variety of everyday kitchen tools and bowls, or building an outdoor tent for reading and sharing of stories. Provide tips to help parents establish daily virtual school routines at home. An example of a flexible daily schedule might include 8 a.m. breakfast, 8:30, read a book and discuss the story or problems presented in the story. 9 a.m., create a craft. 9:30, play outside. Help caregivers identify play and learning zones within their home. Example, a larger open area for construction of blocks and the use of construction toys. Maybe a small chair or pillow for reading quietly. A small table for writing or crafts work. But do remember to encourage your families to utilize outdoor space for any and all of these activities as much as possible. We know the natural environment stimulates a child's imagination, curiosity, and reasoning.
Now let's look at some ways teachers support children and families through non-technology methods. We know it's typically helpful to see what others are doing. There are lots of districts doing an excellent job with this, but for time's sake, we're only going to show 3 districts that have given us permission to share. The first district we're going to look at is Daviess County. They have provided take-home packets that are printable. So they have them broken down for the week. So within that week, they suggest that you read 2 books, and then they provide some questions to ask as you're reading those books. This helps give the child some engagement within the book and helps the parents get used to asking some different questions as they read. They also give you some math challenges, writing, gross motor, cognitive, social emotional, and self-help ideas. As you can see, they've provided several weeks here, and each week they have new questions to ask as you read your book and new math and writing challenges. So this is a great way for families who don't have access to any internet or virtual connections. So you can send these packets home, and what they've done is they've sent about 15 or 16 days worth of activities home with families. So this is something that you could, talking about the delivery methods of packets, maybe twice a month you could send these out. They also provide some fun movement ideas to go along with exercise and things that you can do extra. So we wanted to share this as a printable version. Next, we have an interactive document. And what Hopkins County has done is they have it broken down for the week, and each day is here within an interactive calendar. So what they have is a question of the day. So the teachers will have the students answer this question, and I'm sure that they're collecting that data so that they can have conversations about this later throughout the week. They also have activities that they're wanting to work with the letter people. So if the family doesn't have access to this book, they have it provided for them as a YouTube video. They also provide teachers that give examples on how to do activities. So the teacher actually demonstrates the activity for the parent so the parent can know exactly what's expected of the student. So again, this is something that only the parent can watch if you're trying to limit any screen time. So the parent can watch to know what's expected and then teach the child what is needed to be done. And these videos that teachers are demonstrating are between 30 seconds and a minute, so they're very short clips. And as you see, they have these broken down for each day of the week. Next, we're going to look at Murray Independent, and we're going to look at one of their day lessons. So as you can see, they have connected their activities with the Teaching Strategies Gold objectives. So those connections are provided, and then they give parents a choice. So with literacy, you can read a book of your own for 10 to 20 minutes, or if you don't have a selection of books, they give you an area where you can find some. So just click on a book that interests the child or is going along with the school theme that you could read. And you can read this book yourself, or you can choose to have it be read to the child. So they have the activities set up for each of these. They're interactive. You could also do a Starfall activity where they have you connect to the Starfall, which is an interactive program for children. So they would read the letters and do an activity. So for each category, they have it broken down for activities that you can do, and in some of them you can see you have a choice. So with math, you can playing Simon Says. It gives you some ideas to do, or there's a corn sorting activity, and it gives you step-by-step instructions on how to use that. For Science Seek and Float, they've attached a YouTube video to show the parents how to set up that activity for the child. So we thought that this was great to show 3 different methods of how different districts are using NTI with families and how they're actually providing things that are non-technology based so that they can do things with children and they aren't just looking at a screen. Next, we're going to show a great resource by NACY. And here, these are kind of just little ideas that you could send home with parents. So what this is some guided questions to help that critical thinking. So these can be printed out and sent home in packets if you're doing kind of like the first example we showed, send home packets for parents who don't have access to any technology. Or you could easily just send this link to families and they could look at it on their own. But it gives questions for science and math, art and dramatic play, and reading together. I know a lot of times parents get in the routine of just asking the same questions over and over again. So this is a great way to give them some guided questions to get that critical thinking started. As you can see, they come in different languages to meet families' needs. And they come in all different types of topics. One more that we'll look at is ways of connecting literacy when you're doing laundry. As Chuck mentioned before, there's great things that can be done with laundry. Everyone's got it, it's got to be done. So you might as well make it fun and interactive. So just by sorting your clothes, you can help them sort by colors, looking for shapes. A lot of outfits have branding on them, so labels and things like that. You can talk about letters and reading what shirts say. So some great ideas again, you can print this and send home with families, or you can easily just send them the link.
Another resource that we want to share with you, all of our preschool programs use different curricula, and we know that many use high scope, many use creative curriculum, many use Frog Street, many other curriculum that is used across Kentucky. But one of the things we want to mention when you're thinking about your activity packets for your families, when you're looking at your virtual learning, you want to think about the curriculum that you're using. So just as a sample today, we wanted to show you that with creative curriculum, you are continuing to use your projects or your themes with your children at home, but another activity that you could do with them would be the Mighty Minutes. And the Mighty Minutes are aligned with the teaching strategies, goals, objectives, and that also is aligned to our Kentucky Early Childhood Standards. So one of the things that you could do would be in your activity packet is to include the activity cards, Mighty Minutes, and these are broken down into the areas, our subject areas like math, science, literacy, gross motor, fine motor, but they're broken down in that way. You could have the parents to do these activities, and they actually could document the child's progress, and that could be sent back to the school, where the school could actually include that in their progress monitoring for all of their children or for the children that were using these packets. So just thinking about whatever curriculum that you're using, making sure that you use the resources that are available to you through that program are going to be very important as you're putting together your packets for your children. So again, we want to emphasize our early childhood learning standards, and we want to make sure that the things that families are doing can be used to document the progress the children are actually making.
Another resource we would like to share is with KET. And as we scroll down, we can see that they have weekly virtual lessons. So we've clicked on the one for nature and neighborhood. And so as you look through here, it provides you questions that you can ask, and it provides you some activities. So these activities are printable. So you could print these out and send home with families if you have a theme that you're using for that week, or you could easily send this to families and they can go on and look at these activities. They don't all have to be printed, but they could print these out if they wanted to do the nature bingo or something like that. So it has these activities organized that go along with things that you would see in your neighborhood. And then on this link, we can see that they have just a listing of all of the activities. Just kind of not so much by theme, but you could look for them by the age group or whatever theme or activity you're searching. So this provides all the activities in a printable format that you could send home with parents or just share. So we really wanted to highlight those activities just because they are Kentucky resources and they're very useful. The next thing that we're going to look at is the P&C Grow Up Fast or Grow Up Great. And these have prepared lessons. So within each lesson, they have broken down the activities. And this has everything pretty much prepackaged. So it tells parents what they will need to start it, what to do. It guides them through the activities, how to integrate and extend those ideas, and then checking for that learning and children's understanding. They also have resources provided that give you lesson tips. So if a child doesn't want to have their feet painted, it gives you some like extended ideas on what to do with the child so they benefit from the activity. It provides you with some books that go along with this. So again, if you don't have books on hand, you could always check YouTube and see if they had that book available. And then they have some home and school connections. So again, these are kind of pre-packaged. Everything is all together in one spot for you as you look at these activities. We want to thank you for participating with us today. We hope that you gain some ideas that you can use as you move forward with NTI instruction. Please note that you can find more resources by your individual RTCs by visiting our websites or giving us a call. Hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you, Callaway RTC, for your presentation. This concludes today's webcast. You can search for the link to today's session on the Kentucky Department of Education's webpage under the Exceptional Children tab. Thank you again for attending.